Hi, my name's Christina.
And I'm Matt.
And this is New Ways Podcast. Today, our guest is an electronic dance music artist who goes by the name of One True God, but we know him as Alan. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're
Thank you.
super excited. I know Matt came up with a huge long list of questions to ask you, and we're going to get to them.
Okay.
But the one question, because I remember having this conversation with you before and I liked it. Why did you go by that stage name? What made you pick One True God?
It goes along with my beliefs that everybody is their own God and like we're all connected as well. So like the one true God is yourself. You create your own reality, your own destiny, that kind of thing.
I love that. When I heard that, actually, that resonates so well with me because I believe in the same thing. I believe we all have like these God-like capabilities. We just someday forget like how powerful and how creative we actually are.
Yeah, I mean like we could change our lives in 5 minutes. Like just it really depends on what you do, you know? And
Yeah.
people don't realize how much power they actually have.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely love that. I think too is like it's such an important theme to often discuss because so many people get stuck in their ways of doing things and not recognizing that, oh wait, I can change who I am and change also like my perception of myself, and just simply just by knowing at the end of the day like that we all have that, humanistic drive and need to always be better and to always change if we want that for ourselves. So I love that. I think that is so big.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Completely. Do you feel like your music do you feel like a God in a way when you create music? Do you feel like it's a way for you to like express yourself and create your own reality in a way?
Definitely.
Yeah,
I have a whole sort of persona that I've created based on myself, and I make music in that universe, and we're all creating, we're all creators, so we are God.
Yeah. What do you mean by persona? Let me ask you that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like a certain character that I play in my brand, and it's based on me. But it's like this dark figure kind of.
Yeah.
And that's like a side of myself that I put forward in the music creation process and in my performances.
Where'd you discover that character at?
It's just, over time getting to know myself better, and just with this project with One True God, it's my first like solo project. Before that, I've always had partners, and we've always had to find some sort of middle ground with the branding and stuff like that. But this one is the first one I could truly be myself. And so, I just kind of ran with it.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good.
No, go ahead.
Okay. And I was going to say too, like oftentimes your music also like really dives into darker themes. And so also being able to do, how do you kind of come up with the inspiration for a lot of those darker themes that you discuss?
I think it's mostly just life and life experiences and how I feel about things. Very like, love is like a huge role in my life, like, and, relationships and that kind of stuff, and sex. And that's what my music is based on. It's just like, I crave that toxicity and that, fire in a relationship and things like that. So it's basically just what I feel.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I was going to say though, so I've listened to your music throughout the day today in preparation for this, and I get a lot of it has more like darker undertones and stuff, but I'm not going to lie, when I listen to some of your songs, like it comes off as a little bit whimsical to me also.
Whimsical? How? Like in what sense?
Like, I know it seems kind of like dark, a lot of like the beats and stuff, but when you listen to some of the lyrics or like just certain aspects to it, I don't know, it feels like not as light as you would expect. Like you say, kind of darker themes, and like your apparel and like how you kind of present yourself is kind of dark. I don't know, think of me as like a positive thinking person. We know this, but I actually like really enjoyed it. I'm like, it's kind of, there's a sense of hope in it in a way.
Yeah, I mean, none of it is truly negative.
Yeah.
It's still like a positive message most of the time. And it's just, I'll take a clip of a feeling and just put that into a song.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like a little snippet of an emotion or a feeling or a situation, and I'll put myself in it and then create a song around that.
Yeah.
One thing too that you and I discussed on our way here was talking about how your sound has developed with who you are as a person too. And so one thing that I would love to just kind of reiterate and talk about again is, you know, you talked a lot about how your music came from like sort of like a color palette in a way, like how artists, you recognize an artist, you know, a painter, for example, has oftentimes, you can see their strokes and their colors and it all matches and everything is very specific. And so how do people sort of identify your music when they listen to it versus other EDM artists?
Well, yeah, what you're talking about is like what I call sound identity, and I feel like my sound identity is pretty strong. Like my music is very recognizable, and I mean that's achievable just through, first of all, because I sing on most of my songs, so my voice is pretty recognizable. But other than that, yeah, I mean I always sort of paint the song with a certain color palette and you know, like similar, you know, sound techniques. And basically I created a universe where my character exists, and I put myself inside that universe, inside that visual realm, and then I almost score it like a movie. Like I'll picture like a scene, I'll put myself in that scene, and then I create from inside of that scene, and then I'm able to portray that emotion or whatever it is that I'm picturing into reality, and then base all the visuals, because my brand is very visual as well, so I'll base all those visuals on what I'm imagining in that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, it's like, it's so cool because the thing is like, I think so many people oftentimes like want to be able to kind of create these like alter personalities in a way that they can use, you know, on stage and, you know, or even just sort of in their own lives. And I think it's just awesome that you're able to dive into an entire world that is so real in your mind, and how you're able to create that and then turn around and then make a visual of it for the world to see it's just phenomenal. It's
I
awesome.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
I mean, the trick to that is that it is real. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, you know, expressing a certain part of myself, because I'm not always like this dark, mysterious, gloomy person, as you know.
Yeah.
But there is that side of myself, and that's the side of myself I show in the music.
Yeah. I really love that like picture you kind of just painted of like your creative process in a way, because I feel like even a lot of artists sit down sometimes and they're like, I have no idea really how to create, like they get those mental blocks. So I feel like that's a very like interesting way to go about it. And then my thing is there usually like reoccurring themes in these scenes? Like how do you come up with them?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot of reoccurring scenes. The way, like, for example, one of them, you know, I'll sit down. I used to write music with my ex-wife now. And I remember we were just like in the bedroom. I used to produce music in the bedroom. And we were sitting together and we were just discussing like, okay, I'm outside of a club. I'm smoking a cigarette. It's my last one. Like, what am I feeling right now? And then we wrote one of like my biggest songs, which is called Addicted. And yeah, I mean, we just like kind of put ourselves in this movie scene, and she's also like a screenwriter as well, so it worked really well. So we're like, okay, like ran out of money, down to my last cigarette, and I lost my honey, but I found the vice I want to get. Like, so it's like we're just like describing a scene, so it's very like visceral, like visual type of writing, so that you can kind of imagine yourself outside of a club. You see a girl walk by, you have no more cigarettes left, you've had this feeling of addiction that's not satisfied, so you turn it towards this girl that you see, and then that's kind of like at least that's the story of that song.
You're
amazing.
telling a story, you're writing a story.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you ever take moments from like your own life or your own emotions and like kind of make scenes based off of that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I've been in that situation. I've been down to my last cigarette. I've seen, you know, a beautiful woman walk by. Like, I felt these things. So it's just like natural to write about it and create a thing around it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is there any that you can think of specifically that like really hit home for you? Like one song that you've written or that you've created the scene and you're like, that
I'd
came
say that
from?
one is like probably one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's it's called Addicted if you want to check it out.
Yeah. I love that. And I kind of just want to backtrack a little bit because I know you were saying now you're pretty much like independent, but before you used to work with a group, right?
Yeah, I've had several other dance music projects that have been with like one or two other people. Mm-hmm. And yeah, this one is the first one that's just like on my own where I have full control over everything. And one thing also that's different about this project is I sing on everything as well.
Yeah.
So I don't ever have to like compromise with any other people. So when you work with a singer, you're also taking their emotion into consideration, and you're always finding some sort of middle ground between all the people in the room. And when I'm working now, I basically just have full control over everything. Even if I'm working with a writer on something like with lyrics and things like that, I'm still sort of like in control of the subject matter, and I'm pulling lyrics out of someone like to help me tell a story in a way that, maybe I can't tell by myself just because I'm not, good enough to rhyme that specific thing or whatever. But that's why like I'll bring in writers that I love to work with that I know understand me and that I'm able to work with and sort of guide into a song that I like.
Yeah, because that was going to be my other question was like, which one do you prefer, working more with like people? Because I know sometimes too, a lot of artists feel forced to work with some people sometimes, or like some people love working with people all the time and others are like, I'd rather be independent. I'd rather be on my own.
So there's almost no situation in this life where I'd rather be on my own.
Okay.
Like I am super extroverted. I almost feel like I don't exist when I'm by myself.
Really?
Yeah. So like when I'm completely by myself, I'm either gaming until I can't open my eyes anymore, or I'm watching like anime or something like that until I like physically my eyes close. Yeah, it's just like my existence when I'm completely by myself almost doesn't feel real. But when there's another person to witness my existence, when I'm with somebody, it feels like validated almost.
Okay.
Like when you're perceived, then you exist kind of vibe, I'm like the tree falling in the woods
for sure
vibe when I'm by myself. I don't know if I'm real.
I kind of, oh my God.
Yeah. Holy wow.
Yeah.
No, because like I think, do you think that is because being an artist and performing in front of tens of thousands of people, do you think that
I don't perform in front of tens of thousands?
Well, I mean, you did. You like if you cumulative,
been
a
through
few
a lot of
thousand,
people,
yeah.
But like,
if you add them
I'm
all
saying,
up,
if
it's
you add
probably
it all
been
up,
that.
If I added all
tens
up,
of thousands. That's what I'm saying.
If you calculate the amount of people that have actually heard my music, it's in the billion probably.
Yeah.
Okay, so your music has been listened to by billions of people, as well as you performed in front of tens of thousands of people over the course of your career.
Sure.
And do you feel like you need that a lot oftentimes? Do you feel like because of being in this space where you're constantly being fed that validation, is that why it's harder to be alone?
I've always been like that. I've always needed people around me. Yeah, that's also a reason I always end up like building these little worlds with these romantic relationships that I have that, end up like a one night stand ends up being like a camp out for like, a few weeks or whatever. I'll just like build a universe with someone and just like want to be with that person nonstop.
Like an actual like like real. Okay.
Like I'm talking about like how I am like usually with like a woman.
Yeah.
It's like if it's I've had maybe like one or two one night stands in my life. It's always like evolved into like just being obsessed with each other for an extended period of time until that flame is gone.
I was going to say, how does that usually like work out for you then? Or like, please elaborate a little bit. Like if you In a sense, that's like love bombing, in my opinion, a little bit.
I mean, I think it's because I'm sort of I think you call it a demisexual,
Okay.
where I need to feel more for somebody, like in order to want to have sex with a person.
Oh,
Like
I'm that way though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's why anyone that I want to have sex with, I usually end up having some sort of like passionate, prolonged experience with.
Mm-hmm. But would you say that passion is kind of just based off of like the moment and then you grow into it? And then typically after getting to know the person, then, because you're saying like these people you meet like once or twice and then you create this whole like, in a way, fantasy or like world based around the person. As you get to know them, are there any consistent themes that usually does it work out for you? Or does it kind of, you're like, you see the true side of a person, you know, when you spend more time with them?
I mean, it's usually just like this very passionate physical attraction kind of vibe, and then I mean, we just like play it out until it runs out kind of vibe.
Until it runs out. What does that mean though?
I mean, you know, at a certain point that that spark is gone, and then I don't think there's any reason to keep pursuing something just for the sake of it.
Is it easy to walk away?
Not always.
Okay.
Not always. But I've learned a lot of lessons over the years, and now I'm like very aware of how I am. So a lot of the time, or every time now, I basically will be upfront about things like that. Like, hey, like, not interested in anything like super serious, but I like can be very passionate.
Yeah.
So like, don't take that the wrong way kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really respect that though too, because I'm like, everybody has their own thing when it comes to any type of relationship, regardless if it's just physical, romantic, whatever. I'm the type of person where I'm like, as long as you are completely upfront with the other person, like you've done your part, then obviously other people are going to create scenarios in their own head and decide what the relationship means to them. But as long as you're honest with yourself, like they get to choose kind of how they want to.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't always play out that way.
Oh no, I know
because
for
people,
sure.
get feelings, think that like, they could change me or whatnot.
But then it's on them. It's not on you.
Yeah, but still, it's still can be like a feels bad situation because I'm, I'm an empathetic person, and it hurts me to hurt somebody. So
For sure.
that doesn't always play out like to my advantage.
Yeah, I get that. And I don't know all these different scenarios. I know I've been through the ringer when it comes with men, to be honest with you, with certain things. But the one thing, I just want to say thanks, because the one thing that I always appreciate in a guy is like, at least you were honest with me from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like
that's a good trait to have, like if you're self-aware and stuff like that, because not everybody has that.
No, completely. There's been plenty of times where like nobody tells me like what they want, and I'm like, okay, like left in limbo, have no idea. So I respect that and I appreciate that. In regards to being by yourself, I guess, how did it work out then when you first started getting into music?
What do you mean?
Like, did you always have a group with you to create, or?
Yeah, I mean, I always liked having people around me when I create stuff. Like, I used to live in like this crazy party house. So all of my music at that time I was creating with literally a party going on in my room. Like, I like having people around. I like having, like I said, being witnessed.
Do you ever feel like the stimulation from it is ever too much?
No, I can't get enough of other people.
Really?
Yeah, I like to be around people 24/7.
So can you elaborate a little bit more then for me, when you're by yourself, how that feeling is?
It's just like I become sort of an automaton. Like, I don't know. It's just like I sort of just exist.
Does it feel bad? Does it feel good?
It doesn't feel like anything. It's like a numbness almost. Like when there's no one around, I just numb myself out with however I can. Like I said, I'll just game until I drop, or I'll watch anime until I drop.
Have you ever, because I mean, I told you I'm doing this crazy 10-day silent meditation thing coming up. Have you ever thought like, maybe I'm just going to like not entertain myself for a minute and sit here and see how I feel? Have you ever done that?
I don't think I can.
No?
Yeah, I'm pretty, I can't do that.
What do you think would come up?
I don't know. I just like if I would had to be in like a silent retreat or whatever and by myself and not be able to speak to anyone. Or, I don't know. I would probably just vanish into the ether.
Do you think so?
Probably. There might not be any coming back from it. I don't know.
Just vanish. I'm gone. I don't exist
that's
anymore.
it,
I
yeah.
mean, you are that tree
Just
that falls
poof.
in the forest. So you're right. Essentially, you don't exist, I guess,
Yeah.
if nobody's around to see you. That's crazy to me. You've never had a moment where you're just like, I kind of want to see what happens when I sit. Like,
I don't think I've
why?
ever been alone, like truly alone for a long time.
Do you think that's healthy?
I mean, it is for me
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I feel healthier, happier around people. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's truly healthy in like a therapist sense.
I mean, the thing is like we often tell people, if as long as you have good people around you,
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing that we care about at the end of the day. So,
And I've been blessed with that. I've had
Yeah.
the best people in the world around me all the time.
Yeah.
Good.
Like I live with my best friends right now.
Yeah.
And I always have. Like I've always had roommates, housemates. And before that, I have a very loving, amazing family that I've always been around. And my brother is also my best friend. So like growing up, I had my brother, my parents, grandparents, you
Yeah.
know, and then, ever since then, I never truly lived on my own. There was one stint where my parents were out of the country and I had my own place. This was in Toronto. It was like an apartment. And I remember I never even slept in my bed, not once. I only just slept on the couch in front of the TV if I was by myself. And I had like this open door policy where literally all day, every day, people would just come in and out of my apartment. And I loved it. Like just friends all the time, people all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just asking that question too, because I spend a lot of time by myself and I like being alone, but like, and I can completely agree with you on that. I'm like, you do live in a house full of great people. And like, I enjoy your company so much too. I want you to know that. That's why I'm just like, I'm so curious because this is fascinating
I enjoy
to
your
me.
company also.
I'm just like,
yeah.
I don't know how to be complete. You're just the opposite when it comes of me. That's why I'm so curious about that.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I could deal with that much stimulus all the time.
No, I mean,
know?
yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat where I'm like, even when we, go to parties, even at your house or anywhere else, like, I'm like, okay, I need like 10 minutes to like just.
See,
Like-
the thing is like I also get that social battery thing where if I'm around like too many people, it can drain. Or especially if there's someone around me that I don't feel fully comfortable with or something like that, or if I don't like vibe with them perfectly. But my battery recharges when I'm like with one other person or a few other people that I love, like, close friends and stuff like that. That will be my recharge, not like completely alone type of vibe.
Yeah. One thing too that I would love to just like get to know, because obviously you have people around you constantly, whether they're part of your management team, whether they're part of your friend group.
Yeah,
or
my
just-
management team is my manager, Santi, and he's also one of my best friends in the world.
Yeah.
So it's like, I just love having loving, fulfilling relationships with all of my friends. And that's another thing is like why I'm not really in a hurry or not sure if I'll ever be in like a serious committed relationship ever again, is because I don't have that void that I'm looking to fill with like a woman. I don't need like a life partner. I already have like several life partners, and all my best friends were like truly like family.
Yeah.
And I get all of that love and affection from them. And that's why I'm not really like in a hurry to have like a wife or like any type of like serious partner that I need to share my life with or anything like that.
You brought up how you feel like you have multiple life partners because they're your best friends, right?
Yeah.
And one thing that immediately I thought of is that like everyone, I feel like, especially in today's day and age, is always like trying to chase that relationship, trying to chase that forever person. But you feel like you found your forever person in your community rather instead of being it in one particular human.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of would love for you to elaborate a little bit on like, what are some of the qualities that you often look for in people that quote unquote become your life partners and friends?
One thing I would say is just like realness. Someone that tells me things how they are, like there's nothing worse than being surrounded by like yes men, that just tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
There's no way to improve your life or become a better person if you're in an echo chamber. So, I look for people that aren't afraid to tell me things how they are. Like if I'm doing something wrong or if I'm, being a certain way, and they'll call me out on it. So that's like one of the main things that I look for.
Yeah.
But also there's just like this unexplainable attraction I have to both men and women, not like a sexual one. Some people you just want to be around them all the time. And
Yeah.
those are the people that I keep close.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just like an energy, like right off the bat, you can kind of like, I feel like if you're very in tune with yourself, and Alan, I need to say, I feel like you are, like since day one, you kind of never tone yourself down for anybody. And that's why I feel like you do attract so many good people in your life, because when you're not being true to who you are is when I feel like you get a lot of like those imposters or those yes men or the people who like don't actually resonate with you on a soul level or an energetic level.
Yeah.
And that's why I can say, I'm like, since you are simply just who you are and you're proud of it and you just speak your mind, that's why you have these great people in your life.
I mean, I'm not necessarily proud of every aspect of myself, but
you are
I
who
live
you
with
are,
it.
and you like hold
Yeah.
yourself accountable for who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you don't try to hide yourself. No, you might not love every like thing that you do, but like you own it.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why I think like it's an energetic level. On that note, then how do you handle people that like you might have to work with that you just get like a weird energy from?
I am fortunate enough to be in the position where I don't have to work with anyone that I don't want to. So I just work with people that I want to work with and that I like.
Yeah.
And actually, I've noticed a lot that people that I would want to work with anyways, like in terms of music collaborations and stuff, I don't know what it is, but I find that people that have like a similar sound to me or anything like in that realm, I automatically sort of vibe with. So it's like we have that in common, and I feel like we're all similar in enough ways where it just kind of works out. But I've never had to work with anyone I really disliked.
Never.
I mean, there has been times in the past, but it's been so long since I'm in the position basically where I could choose who I want to work with,
Yeah.
so I'm very lucky. And that's why I end up releasing a lot of collaborations with the same people, because they're all very close friends of mine. Like, like I have a friend, Dylan, he goes by Le Castlevania. We have, I think, already 3 or 4 songs together, and it's never going to stop. Same with, like, for example, this artist, Eddie. Like, we also have, like, 3 or 4 songs together, and I'm never going to stop working with him. Like, even from a career perspective, it's like, we've exhausted all the cross-promotion side of things. Like, his fans already know me. My fans already know him. So we're not, like, cross-promoting anything, but we'll still always make music together just because the music comes out really well and I love them as people. So those are just 2 examples, but yeah, I end up just working with the same people a lot.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of artists kind of have that luxury of picking and choosing who they work with?
I mean, I think I've just created that luxury for myself just naturally. That's just what I do.
Yeah, I was going to say then if you can like give any encouraging words to people who want to get in the industry or are in that situation, like how can they go about creating that for themselves then?
I mean, it's just all about, building a community of similar mindset artists, and everybody sort of grows together and you choose who you want in that community at the end of the day.
Yeah, I love that.
That's awesome. No, I think about that a lot too, and the fact that like when you kind of have those friends that you can really lean on and the people in your life that really can be that huge support system for you.
Yeah.
And in regards to also support system, and I don't know whether if not this would, some people feel it's a support system, others they don't feel like it is, but a fan base is also really important to being an artist and having those people that keep listening to your stuff over and over again. Do you feel like there's ever pressure to like, quote unquote, like appease your fan base or like give them what they want versus maybe what you're wanting to put out?
I'm extremely lucky that I've managed to captivate fans that like what I do. So, I'm in a lucky position where I can create the things I want to create, and then the fans will love it anyways. I have felt pressure. I mean, I'm more used to it now. I'm more like, blasé to it now a little bit. But yeah, I used to feel a lot of pressure, just like, oh, like I need to appease the fans. I need to like put out music and has to sound a certain way. But at the end of the day, those are just sort of like intrusive thoughts, and I don't act on them. So I just stay true to myself and make the music I want. And luckily, that's gotten me this far.
Yeah. So you've never really been through the thing of, I need to put something out for my fans.
I have with previous projects,
Yeah.
and I felt like that wasn't the way to go.
Okay.
What do you think is the proper way to go about it?
I think if you're true to yourself and you make the music you want to make and the music that you like to listen to, and you're true to your artistic integrity, I think fans recognize that.
Yeah.
More than if you're trying to be something or someone that you're not. I think, just naturally more people will connect with it if you're being authentic.
That's amazing. One thing too is like you talk a lot about like individuality also in the branding and stuff that you do, and with your fans you're able to really sort of grasp with them sort of what separates you from other EDM artists. So I would like to just kind of discuss too, like what are some of the features or themes that you bring into your work that really separates you as an artist?
I'm not really sure. It's just I create music and no one sounds like me. So it's just like a natural thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever catch yourself comparing yourself to other artists?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I look at like other artists and see them getting booked at certain festivals and stuff like that. And that's been a big struggle because my stuff is more like songwriting focused, and like the dance music part of it is secondary. I don't create music with like a purpose of playing it live ever. So like structurally, it's not quite there. So it's not stuff that other DJs play out regularly. So I feel a little bit alienated from the community in that sense. And also it's very hard to place me on a festival lineup. So like there's like the dubstep stage, there's the house stage, there's that stage. And I feel like basically my only hope with that is to just get so big with my type of music that they have to book me on the main stage or whatever it is. So it's a grind, and there's a process. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still get some festival bookings here and there, but I think I really shine on my own concerts, like my headline shows, where I have full control over the vibe of the room and put forward as much of my artistry as possible. You can't really do that as much on a festival stage, at least on my level where I am right now.
I was gonna say, because you do have like a tour coming up that you're right.
Yeah, it's my third headlining tour.
Yeah, and just listening to you, what was it, like 2 days ago, go over dinner, talking about like how passionate you are about every single aspect of it. You're talking about the dancers, you're talking about the chandelier, that like you're making yourself. And tell me a little bit of like, when you know that you're about to go on tour, like what's the motions that you kind of go through?
Basically, I am just trying to create my universe as close as possible in a live setting. Like one thing why I love YouTube so much compared to like Spotify and other platforms is on YouTube, that is the closest thing I can get to presenting the full picture.
Yeah.
Because it's like, the full long form visual and the song, and there's a community there where people can comment and you can like interact with them and stuff, rather than Spotify. It's like a one-way conversation type of thing. Like they can't really communicate with you back. And also there's no like full long form visual on Spotify, so it doesn't captivate as much as I would like it to. But going back to the live thing, I'm basically just trying to bring people into my world when they come to my show. So with that comes a lot of work and a lot of like small details that all add up to like this one big experience that I want to bring. And it's not easy to create, but I try my best to get it as close as possible with like the budgets that I have. And the more money I get from these shows, the more money I spend. So it's like
You put it all back in.
Yeah, exactly. Eventually, like if I get $100,000 to play a show, I'm gonna get like Cirque du Soleil to, you know what I mean? Like I'm gonna spend it like that.
Hell yes, though. Yeah.
And also like not uniquely, but I'm in a position where I don't rely on live touring as income. It's like, something that's more secondary or even less than that as like an income stream. And I use that more as just like like a love passion thing rather than like I need to tour and optimize this so I can make money and cut costs and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to bring the most I can with however much money I can.
One thing too is that you talked about when it comes to touring, and also this will now be your third headlining tour. And so going into this, is there kind of a different set of notions or a different sort of mind space that you're in going into this one versus the other two?
Yeah. So I'm basically trying to keep everyone guessing. Like I want people to come to a One True God show and never know what to expect. So my last tour was all like these live elements, and I had a guitarist and a saxophone player on stage the entire time almost, and I was singing like all the songs live, and it was like this very like audio-visual theatrical live experience. And for the next one, I'm completely flipping it 180 and doing something totally unexpected for the next one.
Oh
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Since you don't typically, like you said, you don't typically go on tour like that often. It's kind of like secondary or more than that.
Well, it's not that I don't go on tour often. It's that I'm not relying on it for income.
But when you do, how does does your mentality flip at all in your brain? Like when you have to prepare for this kind of stuff, like what goes on in your head?
Well, just trying to make it as perfect as I can. I'm a perfectionist, not in everything in life, but when it comes to my work, I'm extremely detail oriented and, as much of a perfectionist as I can be with that stuff. So just trying to not let any details slide. My mindset shifts to like, go, get this done, bring people in that can help. I'm very good at delegating tasks as well. Like I know my own shortcomings when it comes to certain things. So I'll heavily rely on other people that I know can get something done better than I can. So it's like, if you try to do everything yourself, realistically, you're not amazing at everything. But there is someone out there that is amazing at something that you're not great at. So if you can delegate and work with people you like and trust to get those aspects done, I'm all for it, as long as it's my vision and the things that, I have a certain goal I'm going towards. Bringing in people to help and stuff like that. Like I've been very fortunate to be able to find people that believe in my vision as well. And, people that I call friends and being able to work with them to create everything I need to create.
Yeah. That's a very healthy way to go about it. Cause I know a lot of people can argue that like, since things are so near and dear to their heart, they want to do everything themselves and they feel weird delegating it. But in reality, I feel like that can cause a lot of artists or anybody in the world, like so much more added stress that they don't actually have to be responsible for.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I still take on that stress just because someone else is doing something. I'm still stressed about it.
Yeah.
Like I still, oversee every single detail. But just like the execution part of it, like I said, like if I can't do something as well as someone else, I don't mind delegating.
How do you handle that stress potentially then that you take on?
It's just a constant stress that's always there. I rely on, nicotine a lot, I guess.
Okay.
And other vices. I'm not like I don't like do any drugs or anything like that, other than I recently got diagnosed with ADHD and started taking medication for that, and that has helped a lot with stress in terms of just I used to get extremely overwhelmed when I had a lot of tasks and I would shut down a lot of the time, but being able to be on this medication helps me just see things for what they are and chill out a little bit more and not feel this like dread to doing small tasks and being able to just start working rather than sitting and brooding about something for days and not being able to touch anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been very helpful for me in terms of like a coping thing.
Wow. What about before?
And caffeine.
And caffeine. I'm sure a lot of Americans can relate to using caffeine. So funny thing, what I'm kind of hearing is now you've found a way for yourself in a way to like accept the stress and conquer it versus like letting it get to your head so much.
It still gets to my head.
Yeah.
And, you know, I still definitely feel like the amount of stress I'm under is unhealthy. And
Okay.
like my work never stops.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's a 9 to 5 job. You go home, you can turn it off. For me, I can never, ever turn off my work. It's always there. It's always on my shoulders. There's always more work that I need to do than I could ever do.
Yeah.
My entire career is based on me and my output. And the more I put into it, the more I get. So it's never ending. There's never a time where I can finish something and be like, I'm done.
Yeah.
There's always something there that I could be working on or doing. And that feeling adds to the stress because, you know, when you're your own boss, you create your own hours. It's difficult sometimes to get motivated. That's why a lot of the time I actually love deadlines. I love when there's something due on a specific day.
Yeah.
Because then I can just be like, okay, that's my priority. That needs to be done. And it gives me some sort of structure, you know, so I can sit and focus on that thing. But when I'm just left to my own devices and I have, you know, this smorgasbord of tasks that I could do and I could choose whatever thing I want to choose, then it becomes more difficult to actually focus in on something and see it through rather when there's like something specific that's due.
Yeah.
But all that stuff causes stress.
Completely. And since it all causes stress, has there ever been a point though where you're like, because I see how passionate you are about this, like that's clearly obvious. Has there ever been a point where you're like, I do kind of just want to turn it all off?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I sometimes sit there and fantasize about being a barista at Starbucks. I actually do.
I love it.
Like, I'll like go to Starbucks and I'll see them like working and be like, wow, that looks amazing.
I love that.
Yeah.
So what's like, that's the thing is in these kind of moments, I get like, obviously you're not going to give up music to be a barista at Starbucks because that's not something like long-term probably you would be happy with because we've talked
I
about.
would probably hate my life
Yeah.
instantaneously. Yeah, I
You're
would
like,
love
this
it.
is
I'd be like, hell yeah. And then
Yeah.
I would probably get fired.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. I'm like, it doesn't to me like, so I get it's a lot of stress and I get that like there's a lot that goes into it. But what I'm kind of hearing is that like you really don't even want to take that much of a break sometimes.
I can't.
Is it
Sometimes
you can't or
if
you
I
don't want to?
if I do take a extended break and
Yeah.
sometimes I'm just like cooked, you know, like you could just be cooked sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's happened to me, you know, a couple of times. And I'll just sit there and isolate and just like game for 3-4 months straight and not do shit. And I get massively depressed when I do that. Massively depressed. When I'm not working, when I'm not progressing, when I'm not making music, I start to just lose my mind. I feel like I have no more purpose. I'm just existing, breathing air.
So in a way though, wouldn't you call all this stress then in a way like a positive type of stress?
Yeah, I mean, it's positive, but it's also not healthy. And I recognize that, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I do like that answer, but I don't like that answer.
Like, what do you mean?
I don't know. It is what it is. Cause I'm always like, if you wanted to change something and you wanted to decompress a little bit, like, I don't know. I feel the need to take you to a yoga class or something.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about doing Pilates.
We do need to do Pilates.
Yeah.
That's true.
But yeah.
But also too, like, do you feel like, so even if you say like go on vacation, do you feel like it's never really a vacation because you're always just
I'm
like,
never
you're
able
thinking.
to turn off my mind.
Yeah.
Like, it's always focused on work and what I could be doing instead of resting.
Yeah.
So even when I'm resting, I'm not resting. 'Cause,
Have you ever talked to a therapist or like,
I've done therapy a couple of times.
Yeah.
I did therapy because I was very afraid of flying. I had like an extremely scary flight experience when I was younger.
Yeah.
So that like made me terrified of planes, and I didn't get on a plane for a really long time. And it's funny because if I'm succeeding in my career, I'm flying all the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, in my mind, it was never a full blockage because I knew that I would have to fly and I wouldn't give up my career just because I'm afraid of flying. Like, it's illogical, and I recognize that. So I tried therapy for that and several, techniques on how to cope with the fear of flying. But I ended up, disregarding all of that and just going about it my own way. And I fixed that issue on my own.
How'd you fix it on your own?
Okay. Well, at first, I started just taking Xanax.
Okay.
And I would just Xan myself out of my mind.
Yeah.
I just completely Xan myself out of my mind and, not even be a person anymore. And just like, I would have like a handler come with me. It was like either like my ex-wife or like my manager would like on a leash, like bring me onto the plane and sit me down while I'm just like, so it started with that. Yeah. And then afterwards, I realized that I can't like continue to rely on Xanax because it's not healthy. And
No.
so I progressed from that to getting drunk at the airport. So I stopped taking Xanax and just started boozing. And then, like at a certain point, you're drunk enough, you don't care if the plane goes down.
I'm dying right now. Okay. Is that still what you do?
And then that's all. No. And then, I still recognize that that's not healthy. So I progressed from that as well. And the next step from that was booking flights super early in the morning.
Okay.
And not sleeping the night before and just getting on the plane, like being extremely tired, like a zombie. And then that feeling of like being so tired, you don't care if the plane goes down, you just want to die.
Do you? Really? I mean, for anybody out there, I read that it's actually like you have a better chance of being attacked by a wild pig than the airplane going down.
No, the thing is I recognize how illogical the fear of flying is.
Is that what? So essentially,
I knew that it's unfounded.
How'd you recognize that, though?
Well, I mean, it's obvious. Like, you can look at statistics. I'm not dumb. I'm like, I don't think
so is that what you did to essentially now? Can you sit on a plane without being zanned out, drunk, or sleepy? Okay.
Now, basically, I've used exposure therapy.
Okay.
Just because a lot of the time I'm forced to fly like 5 times in a week.
Yeah.
And, the more you do something, the more you become numb to it and callous.
Or the more you grow and you overcome your fear. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that.
You gain more confidence in yourself.
It's nothing to do with myself. It's just
it is, Alan. You are amazing.
I appreciate you saying that. But it is like anything else. You are afraid of something. You do it a bunch of times. You realize I'm still alive.
Yeah.
It's okay. It will be okay. But I still have coping mechanisms on planes. I'm still, a little bit psycho when it comes to airplanes because I have one song that I listen to on repeat.
What song is it?
It's called Time by Swedish House Mafia.
Okay.
And I put it deep in my ears. Like I have like a ritual on the plane. Okay. I'll put it deep in my ears, as deep as I can with my AirPods that do noise canceling. And for me, the worst part is takeoff. So, or when there's any turbulence or anything. Mm-hmm. So I have like this method. I'll put only that song on repeat in my ears. Then I'll take my hoodie. I have like a special flying hoodie. It's like, I will not fly without this hoodie. It's like my security blanket.
Okay.
I love that.
I put the hood on over my face, like the other way. So like I'll block myself out like
Do you
that.
walk on the plane with it like hanging in front of you?
No, I just have it like with me always. And I'll take it and I'll put it over my head, the hood part, and then I'll tuck the sides in like this. I'll tuck it in, and then I'll sit like this inside my little chamber with the music playing, and I'll have my little vape like this. And I'm good at stealth vaping. So I'll take like these little tiny hits, tiny hits where no smoke actually comes out. It's like little puffs.
Yeah.
And that helps me just like cope with the flight thing. I zone out as much as possible. I just like take in like the bumps and stuff like that as just like part of that experience. And it doesn't affect me as much anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was such an intriguing conversation of how you're dealing with flying, and I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah,
so
that
thank
wasn't
you
therapist
so-
recommended.
But at the same time, that was like, no, it's
But
not.
I got the
like,
job done.
You
You
got
know,
the job
I'm
done.
flying all the
You know,
time.
That's
now.
what I mean, though, is you found a way to deal with it on your own terms, in your own way, because you realized, though, all these other ways were not like sustainable or healthy.
Yeah.
So you found your own unique, in some sense, like weird way to do it, and that's
I had
the way.
to.
Yeah.
I wasn't about to like, not fly and play a show
Some
somewhere.
people might do that though. They'll be like, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know some people like that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't let a fear like that like dictate my life or career.
Mm-hmm.
You know, also one thing too is like just I immediately went to like the therapeutic perspective for a second on something, and that was that you talked about like your fear of flying and how you had these coping mechanisms that you used for flying. A lot of people will come to therapists, or I've had this even where someone's come to me before, where their fear of public speaking or their fear in being a crowd of people.
Yeah.
But it seems like, have you ever had those fears?
Oh, yeah.
Before performing? And
Yeah.
how do you deal
I'm
with
always a wreck before. Like I've gotten better with that as well. Before I would get physically sick before a performance for like days.
Oh wow.
I'd be like almost catatonic the day of the show. Like literally just unresponsive, and I still get those fears before performing. But the one thing that's always been consistent, luckily, is the second I step on the stage, I like black out. I am no longer a human being. I am one true God. I get into the zone and I give my best performance every single time. And the fears completely melt away
Yeah.
as soon as I step on the stage. But beforehand, like I could be like telling my manager, like, cancel the show. I'm having a fucking heart attack. Like I
Yeah.
can't feel my legs. Like Santi, like pull the plug on this. Like, so he doesn't take me seriously anymore. Like he just knows that this is how I am. And like anything else, exposure therapy, you do it over and over and over again, and it becomes easier. And I have a ritual with dealing with that stress as well now. Like everything in my life is like these little rituals that I've created. And my ritual for performing is I have an alarm set for exactly 30 minutes before I go on stage. And I stay dead sober before that. Like I will never like drink, even if there's like a big party in the green room. I'll never touch any alcohol. It's until exactly 30 minutes before the set. And then I specify that I need White Claws or Trulies. And the reason is like with those cans of seltzer is that I can exactly control the amount of alcohol that I consume. And it's a tested, tried and true method. I know exactly how much alcohol I need. So it's like when you're doing shots and stuff, it's a lot more difficult to control. So I stick to one thing that I know, which is like the seltzers. I'll pound 3 of them in 30 minutes as quickly as I can.
Okay.
And then that gives me that like come up, like that let's go like feeling, like when you're getting drunk and that's like that happiest moment of being drunk and you feel like you can take on the world. That's how I feel with 3 drinks. And then I'll drink another 2 to 3 drinks while I'm performing as well to keep that energy going the entire time. So I could be loose, so I can, move around and dance and really feel myself and like not have any sort of like nerves or anything like that. Just fully get in the zone. So yeah, I definitely like rely on alcohol for performances. Eventually, just like the flight thing, it would be nice to be able to get on stage and do it sober or whatever if I need to.
Yeah.
But I just don't feel like I'm there yet. And I also don't want to experiment with that. Like I don't want to feel like, oh, I'm ready to do this sober and then actually stand on the stage and be like, oh fuck,
Yeah.
You know, like I don't have that luxury. Like I can't fuck up a show. So I have to I just stick to the method that works.
Have you ever thought maybe of like tampering down instead of doing like 3 White Claws, do 2 and see how you would feel?
I've tried tampering up.
I was just curious.
So
I was
for,
just
like,
curious.
if
anything, you've already
for my
tampered down.
for my last tour, I wore a mask the entire time, so I couldn't drink on the stage. So I edited the formula to drinking 4 White Claws before going on instead of the 3, and that would last longer.
Okay.
So I've not tried tapering off. I've tried the other way.
So one thing that's really funny is like it's your in a way sort of coping mechanism and how you've created the process is very specific. And so what are some of the other ways that you've tried that did not work, that were just like a total train wreck, or things that you're like, I'm never doing that again?
It's not happened so far.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's good.
I mean, one time I did get sick the day of a show that I had to play, and I had to take like a Dayquil before the show, and that doesn't mix with alcohol, so I did have to perform sober one time. It wasn't the worst thing ever, but I would never do it again.
Yeah. Do you think it's just because the crowd is a lot, or is it because the music is so much, it's just so oversaturated?
I think it's nothing to do with the music. It's just getting up in front of so many people
Yeah.
that is tough. But also, like, I don't dance, right? Like, I don't have any experience like dancing. I don't even go to shows and dance like in a crowd or anything ever. And as a DJ, you have to feel your own music. Otherwise, you know, if you're a brick on stage, then people don't want to vibe with you either. Like, if you're not vibing, they're looking at you to curate the vibe of the room. And if you're not vibing, and that's kind of how I am when I'm sober, I'm usually just kind of stoic and sort of like a brick, you know? And if I do that on stage, then it's not a good show. That's why when I drink, I get loose. I start feeling myself. You get that extra, you know, liquid courage, that confidence. And I'm able to like move naturally to the music and like really feel it and like close my eyes and like get into the music and like get into the sound. And alcohol helps, like, you know, it's like that inhibitor, right? It like removes that part of your brain that's like, oh, how are people seeing me right now?
It makes
like,
the fear a little easier.
Yeah, I'm like, am I moving weirdly? And like, you can let loose because it literally just dims those parts of your brain that, you know, tell you like, chill out, you're being extra or something like that. Like, once that shuts up and the alcohol helps shut that up, I'm able to just like dance and let loose and feel myself on the stage.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, everybody has their vices with so many things in life, regardless if it's like somebody who just worked a hard shift and came home and just wanted like one drink to relax, you know, like the fact that you drink a few White Claws before stage, if it makes you a little bit more comfortable, like, why not? There are worse things in the world for sure.
And the thing is I'm not actually really a drinker.
Yeah.
Like, I rarely drink. Like, I'll never pour a drink at home. Like, I'll you know, most parties I'll just be sober. Or like if I'm going out, maybe I'll have like 1 or 2 drinks or something like that. But I'm not like a heavy drinker. Sometimes I'll let loose, of course, like at a party or something, I'll get drunk with everyone. It will be fun. But I'm not like, I don't crave alcohol. I'm not addicted to it in any sense. After a night of drinking, I never want to see booze again. You know, like, I'm not like, let's drink. I'm not like that. So it is almost like a medicine.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do appreciate you still saying, like, you've been doing this for years now. Like, music is pretty much your life. Even to this day, you still experience fear before going on stage.
Yeah.
Like, it does.
Because I care. Because like, I care about the show. I want to give it my all. Like, I really care about every aspect, about every detail. I really want to bring my best foot forward. So like, there's a lot of fears. Like, what if I screw something up? Like, what if the crowd's not feeling it? Like, there's so many fears that run through your mind, and they're all valid because that stuff can happen, you know, but
you do it anyways, though, too. Yeah. Like, you get up there and you do it. Like, yes, you can gain more confidence in yourself, but like, the fear never really does go away if you truly care about something and you want to show up 110%. It's just part of human nature.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Some people are more natural performers than others. And I know people do go on stage completely sober, give it their all, dance like a maniac and stuff like that.
Do you think they still don't have like different, like a feeling or a fear?
No, some people, especially like, you know, people play like 300 shows a year. I'm not like that. I don't play as many shows as a lot of other people. So I feel like maybe just the amount of exposure to it isn't there yet where I can just fully let loose sober. And like I said, I think some people are just natural performers. They go out there and that's them and that's what they do. But I've never been that natural of a performer, you know. I've always been more of like a studio, I make music type of person. I never dreamed of being a DJ.
Yeah.
You know, DJing is how I'm able to perform my music. And that just was like, you know, a byproduct of my career. My dream has always been to make music that people listen to. And then, you know, the DJing and the performance aspect of it just was like, came with that other thing.
Yeah.
How do you feel that, you know, you sort of, in a way, you made your dream a reality?
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of people who maybe are kind of staying at home wondering, you know, when's it going to be my turn? You know, what do you often tell people to like really sort of hone in on those dreams that they have to make realities for themselves?
Well, I think music is one of those things where it's either everything or nothing. And I see people like trying to do multiple different things and music on the side, and maybe it works 1 out of 1,000,000 times, but I think you really have to dive headfirst in. And for me, it's always been like music or death kind of vibe. Like I'm only ever going to do music or I'm not doing anything at all. So it's that just like stubbornness and willingness to just like put everything, all my cards into that, like all my eggs into one basket, and just doing it for years and years and years and years and years until it worked. And every time I, you know, go through, because I've been through so many different like music projects and they've all reached some level of success, and you constantly learn from that, and being able to, you know, not get into that sunken cost fallacy and see like not being afraid to reinvent yourself with the new things that you've learned, and getting everything right from the start, I think is also important with a new brand. Like some people, you know, they have like a artist name and over 10 years, they hold on to that one artist name and they evolve with it and grow with it and reach some sort of success. But I think the easiest way is like getting everything correct from day one. Like One True God from day one has always been the same aesthetic, the same sound, the same artwork. Like it's always just been that since the beginning. Of course, it's evolved, but it's always evolved on the foundation that I built. I've never actually fully pivoted in any direction that's unexpected or different. Like I also didn't follow any trends in dance music. There's constantly trends and people trying to jump onto these trends. And even if you see some success, you only have as much success as how much that trend has legs. So that trend is over and those trends are coming and going faster and faster and faster. So it's like, you know, you try to jump onto a trend, you come up and then you go down just as quickly. But what I've done is I've just stuck to one thing only. I've built my sound. I've stayed true to that sound the entire time. I've been very consistent with it. I released a shit ton of music during COVID, especially. That was like the biggest turning point for me, was because I wasn't relying on live show income and stuff like that. I was able to just sit and release a song like every 3 to 4 weeks. And I did that for like 2.5 years straight. And that's when everything kind of just went up for me, that like consistency and always having like that good music and come out very regularly. And I set up my career in a very sustainable way. Like some people do these like grandiose music videos and stuff like that, or they try to do that for every release, but that's not sustainable. Like the main thing is consistency and like regular uploads and regular content, because people have a low attention span. So if you have any vision that's too grandiose, it becomes extremely difficult to sustain. So from the very beginning, I had a formula with, you know, these animations and artworks and I had like this well-oiled machine where everyone does their job very quickly and exactly right. And I'm able to sustain that cost-wise, like, you know, paying the artist, paying the animator, and, you know, keep that flowing rather than, you know, focusing on some big grand, like I haven't done a single music video in my entire career, only because I haven't had to, you know, and just being able to keep up with that schedule. It's gotten more like sparse now, only because I have a lot more on my plate with the live touring and stuff like that. So releases have been dialed back, and I've actually seen the effects of that, like, you know, plays and things go down when you don't release constantly. So that's one thing I can say as advice is just pick something that's extremely sustainable that you can actually keep up with, releasing at least once a month, like a full thing, and sticking to that as long as possible, as long as you believe in it. You know, I can't say that it's gonna work because maybe you suck. You know, maybe you do.
Yeah.
But like, if you're good, if your music is good, if you know what you're doing and you believe in that and you do it consistently and regularly, eventually, hopefully you rise to a point where other people start to notice and it snowballs from there.
Yeah, that was beautifully put, because that was so much information. I feel like a lot of people can go off of that are looking to like make their music come out, get into the industry or whatnot. But the one thing that I really heard of you saying that is like, pick something that you know is sustainable, that's true to you, and stay with it, and don't get lost in like what you think you're supposed to be doing or everybody's telling you to be doing. Do what you know is true to you and stay consistent with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, like, authenticity is so important.
Yeah.
And also that's why I live my life in sort of a crazy way too. You know, I indulge in a lot of things and, you know, live sort of the life that I want to live in. Like, you know, I live as OTG, you know, like my room looks like what you would expect my room would look
Definitely.
like.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surrounded by that visual element all the time. I'm always like living that persona because it's me, you know, but I'm also constantly like doing stuff and, you know, out and about and getting into these little relationships and all these things constantly. And that fuels that music. It becomes authentic. If I'm just at home doing nothing and only working on music, I start to lose that authenticity because then I'm emulating a feeling rather than feeling a feeling. And I find that I'm most authentic with that music is when I'm actually out there experiencing life and feeling that stuff. And I think that's very important to being an artist, is collecting experiences, collecting those emotions and feelings, and being able to put them down into a song rather than like making it up. And I think people can recognize it when it's real.
There's that.
It's amazing.
No, I also too, you know, you talk so much about your past experiences and then also being able to emulate it in your work. And, you know, moving forward, you know, what are some of the goals that One True God has for not just as a brand, but also you as an artist? Where do you kind of see yourself really moving forward with your brand?
It's funny because I've already like blasted past all of the goals I've set for myself, but it never really feels satisfying because, you know, I feel like the goal posts move quicker than I can reach them. So like I'll set like a goal for myself or something like that, and I won't even notice reaching that goal because by the time I've reached that goal post has moved back, and I'm always consistently going towards something, and it's never enough. And that's just also something that I've accepted. There's never that full feeling of like I've achieved something or I've, you know, reached a goal and then I'll celebrate it. That almost never happens. And also I feel like I've been beat down so much in this industry and like in this line of work, because just so many times something feels like a sure thing or it's like guaranteed, and you go out and you celebrate it, and then somehow it just doesn't work out. And that feeling of disappointment is so bad and so like dangerous
Yeah.
that eventually I just kind of stopped celebrating things altogether. You know,
Okay.
I've kind of just numbed myself to expectations in general and kind of just like, oh, well, it is what it is. And the problem with that is that the more you numb yourself to that stuff, it goes both ways. It makes the bad not feel bad, but it also makes the good not feel good. Does that make sense? But because that bad can feel so bad, it's worth doing, in my opinion, because that shit can knock you down, you know? And I've been knocked down, and picking yourself up after that can be challenging. So just kind of not looking at things, not expecting things to happen overall has been better for my mental health than, you know, celebrating all the little victories and feeling those accomplishments and feeling good things also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that, because I honestly, I do feel like expectations a lot of times, like, it's just setting you up for disappointment in a way.
Yeah.
I do like to go about everything in my life without expectations and just accepting things for what they are. But let me ask you this then, like, what makes you continue to make music then?
I mean, it's the only thing that I know how to do. It's the only
Okay.
thing that, you know, I feel satisfied doing.
So there's a satisfaction doing
Yeah, I
it.
mean, I
Yeah.
still have, obviously, there. It's not, when I say I'm numb, it's not like I'm completely numb. I'm not
Yeah.
like, you know, a
Could you
robot.
imagine yourself doing anything else?
No.
Mm-hmm.
I think just music has always been, ever since I was a kid, music has always been like the biggest focus for me.
Yeah.
I used to, you know, play piano and play guitar and sing and write songs, and always wanted to do music at some capacity. And I've been through so many different versions of myself making music. You know, I've had like a reggae band, for example. And
Really?
I've done like so much stuff in music, but it's always the one thing that has been consistent is that it's always been music.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, so despite all the ups and the downs and everything like that, would you consider it worth it? And would you say that you love music?
Yeah,
And that's
of
why you
course.
do
I
it. Yeah,
adore
that's what I
music.
mean. I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's the only thing that I like can do.
yeah,
pretty
so all
much.
the downs are kind of worth it in the long
Yeah,
run.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I still, you know, and don't get me wrong, I'm grateful, and I am so happy in theory of
Yeah.
like where I am and what I'm able to do, and to be able to, you know, make money and have a career in music. It's very rare, and I recognize that. I don't always feel it to the fullest, but I still recognize it. I'm still able to see that. And, you know, a lot of the time I will get really negative about stuff. And at some point I just like remind myself, or like my manager will be like, bro, like, we're good.
Yeah.
Like, calm down. We're good. You know,
Yeah.
because sometimes I do feel like quitting, or like, you know, like I've had enough, or like something will happen. I'll just be like super fed up, and I'll be like, this is like not worth it, you know? But then very quickly I'll remind myself, or someone will remind me, like, bro, it's fine. Like, we're doing stuff. Things are fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Do you have anything else you want to ask him, Matt? Or
And honestly, just being able to hear your story, honestly, like I feel like I know you as a friend, but also too just the fact that I feel like I've got to know you now and just such this incredible, I've deep level, and have such respect for not only the work that you've done, but like what the work you are doing now. And it's incredible. And I think that a lot of people too, they see the lights, they see the cameras, see a lot of the action, you know, that goes on, and, you know, these huge productions that you do and everything, but there's such an incredible, you know, iceberg underneath of, you know, these huge ups and these huge downs, and recognizing where you've fallen, but also, like you said, picking yourself back up.
Yeah.
and choosing to pick yourself back up,
Yeah.
which is something that I feel like a lot of people really struggle with.
Yeah, I mean, that's also something it's worth mentioning. Like, there's a reason why a lot of, famous or quote unquote famous or whatever, artists that tour and, you hear about their drug addictions or their depressions and you hear about like suicide and stuff like that. And you look at their careers and you think like, wow, like if I had that, I would be the happiest person in the world, but you don't realize it. Like when you're in it, you're not experiencing all of that happiness. There's always something that you feel like you're coming up short on. You're always super self-critical. And a lot of the time too, like when you go out and when you're on tour, for example, and you go and you play a show and it's this massive party and everyone is like loving you and everyone's almost like worshiping you. You're on a stage and like everyone's there to see you and you feel this overwhelming sense of like happiness during the show and stuff like that. And when you're on the road, then when you get home, that original baseline, like that you are just home and chilling, that gets way lower because when you have like the higher ups you have, the more up, the lower the lows go. And like actually just the normal becomes lower. So you're back home after this craziness and you're like, what do I even do with myself? Like you're just craving that dopamine because it's so out of control, even with like social media and like constantly getting comments and praise and all those things when you release music and stuff like that. It makes regular life a lot harder to live. So that's when you have like issues with depression and things like that because normal life just feels a lot lower because of how crazy the highs can get, So that's another thing that's worth touching on and why you see some of your favorite artists unfortunately kill themselves or have these crazy drug addictions and things like that because they're just trying to cope with the normal because the normal doesn't feel normal anymore. It feels low.
I think it's safe to say that I feel like as much as people want to think that they know what everybody's going through is like it's safe to say that we don't. It can look like you have the world, but like you don't know what that person is going through or experiencing or what's going on in their head. So that's why I'm like, just choose kindness also. You never actually know what somebody's going through. And I just want to applaud you for coming on here also and like literally just being your authentic self and sharing all this, like not toning it down at all. That's one of the things that I love about you so much is it's never a dull moment, Alan.
I appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure talking to you and I love you so much.
Thank you so much.
And before we go though, is there any last words that you do want to kind of like share or a note you want to go out on?
I mean, I wanted to say I love what you guys are doing here. And I think it's really important to talk about mental health and share stories. And I think, you guys are doing a really good job at that from what I've seen. And I really appreciate you guys having me here. And I'm lucky that I get to hopefully touch even one person with anything that I've said. And I think that would be, worth it. So thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love you both so much. And until next time, thank you guys. I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you.